After placing the order for the PS3 I fixed in my last video, I found a lot of 4 controllers for $15, with the caveat that none of them would power on or charge. The Sixaxis and DualShock 3 controllers for PS3 have built-in rechargeable batteries, which is great for convenience, until the batteries inevitably wear out, as all rechargeable batteries do. Personally, I prefer the way Xbox has done it, where the controllers take regular AA's and offer official rechargeable batteries as an upgrade, because it makes replacing them much easier. Thankfully, it's not nearly as difficult to replace the batteries in a PS3 controller as it is in a smartphone, and off-brand replacements are cheap and plentiful. I ordered a set of 4 replacement batteries for $13, making this set of 4 controllers a very good value at less than $50 after shipping. This will also offer me a good chance to clean them up as well, to ensure they're working as smoothly as possible. To start, remove the 5 Phillips screws on the rear of the controller. Then press this portion of the bottom half inward and lift it away from the top of the controller. After unplugging the battery, it can be pulled away from the circuit board. If all you're seeking to do is replace the battery, you can skip to this timecode. Otherwise, I'll continue the teardown so we can clean these components. There's another Phillips screw securing the controller's circuit board to the top of the controller's body. Once it's removed, the white plastic frame holding the rest of the controller can be pulled out. If you're working on a Sixaxis controller which doesn't contain this white frame, simply pull the circuit board out. Leave the top of the controller facing downward to prevent the buttons from falling out. The thumbsticks can be pulled straight up off the potentiometer assemblies. This is a good time to use contact cleaner and some plastic-safe lubricant if your analog sticks are drifting or sticking during use. The L1 and R1 buttons simply pop out from their nooks, while the L2 and R2 buttons can be removed by pushing the bottom away from the membrane, which should pop the axle out of the hinge. On the Sixaxis, the axle is a separate metal piece which can slide out of the button. Be careful not to lose the axle or the spring which is looped around it. This spring is captive on the DualShock 3, a thoughtful improvement by Sony. You'll also notice the Sixaxis has an additional retainer between the L and R buttons on either side, but we don't have to worry about that until reassembly. Returning to the top of the controller, the button membranes and buttons can be removed easily now. On the Sixaxis, be careful not to lose the light piping assembly for the LEDs which indicate which player the controller is assigned to. By now, you should be ready to wash the plastic parts of the controller. Thankfully, the printing and sticker on the body should be safe to expose to water, so we'll give all the parts a warm bath with some regular dish soap. If you have one, be sure to use a drain plug with an integrated strainer to capture any parts you may miss when it's time to drain the dirty water. I use an old toothbrush to agitate dirt out of the nooks and crannies. Once your parts are cleaned, rinsed, and set out to dry, double check you have all of the parts out of the sink, then drain the dirty water. Once the parts are completely dry, double check for any water that could still be hidden in a screw hole or a corner of the body before reassembling the controller. A compressed air duster or hairdryer set to cold can help release any trapped water that isn't drying on its own. The first step to reassemble the controller is to reinstall the face buttons and D-pad. The main face buttons are keyed differently, so they can't be mixed up or installed in the improper orientation. remember to put the PlayStation button in its spot before the Start and Select button. There's also this frame which needs to be installed after the D-pad but before the membrane. If you're working on a Sixaxis, remember to reinsert the light pipes here as well. Reinstall the analog sticks and insert the internal assembly back into the top half of the controller. Make sure the ribbon cables which connect the L and R buttons to the rest of the controller fit correctly into the body of the controller. Slide the L1 and R1 buttons back into place between the body and the membrane buttons they rest on. I used a screwdriver to depress the membrane and make inserting the buttons easier. Secure the board and the rest of the assembly using that single Phillips screw. Connect your battery to the board and, in my case, double check the controller still responds when you press the PlayStation button. On the Sixaxis, I found there was this additional white plastic frame which needed to be removed in order to fit the new battery. Luckily, this results in a very secure fit. Take the L2 and R2 buttons and make sure their springs are facing the right way before clicking them back into their hinges. Give them a gentle press to make sure they feel correct before continuing. On a Sixaxis controller, this is a good time to reinstall that extra plastic retainer too. Take the bottom half of the controller body and carefully slide it into place, ensuring it fits snugly before continuing. Because the DualShock 3 doesn't use those plastic retainers from the Sixaxis, make sure the holes for L2 and R2 clear those buttons as you fit the two halves of the controller back together. Finally, secure the controller with the 5 Phillips screws, and you should have a working controller. When charging your controllers, it's important to note that PS3 controllers require a USB handshake before they'll charge. Most USB chargers, like the one I used for this shot, do not do this. The easiest way to charge the controllers is to connect them to a PS3 console that's powered on. But Sony also made this PS3 accessory charger in case you want a standalone device for that purpose. They aren't too hard to find online. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and make sure you're subscribed for part 3 of this series, where I make some final fixes and improvements to the PS3 I bought these controllers for. I'll see you next time.